Well, yes, you have many questions for me, and I thank you for calling me in. I'm more than happy to tell you my story, the way that I felt it and lived it. My life, as you know, as Joan of Arc, was one of an honor to be able to serve humanity at that time. The reason why I had such great connections to God was because my veil was not quite removed. I did not realize who God was when I was hearing his voice and telling me what I should be doing, but I knew I needed to trust him. I knew I had a sense and a purpose much greater than my life was uh, making me start off to think it was supposed to lead. I was never feeling attracted or had much desires to follow the footsteps of my peers as much because I kept getting divine information and divine confirmation. Much of it I kept to myself because I didn't actually know what to and how to process that. It wasn't until of my maturity that I realized I did have a mission from God, and that was what I called it, and that is what I pursued. I wanted to honor my faith. I wanted to honor my connection, and I wholeheartedly believed. And I did the things that I needed to do, and I, through the direction of God, I knew I was protected. I knew I was safe. And so while I was not living a conventional life, I did not care. I did not care if my peers were judging me. I did not care if my family was disappointed in me and had other expectations. I didn't want to disappoint myself. I knew the expectations that I had on myself, given the guidance that I frequently and constantly was being given. And while I tried to express where my guidance was coming from and what was my passion and driving force for me to move forward with what I was doing, uh, even though people could see that I was very passionate and very dedicated to my mission, I understand that still it was confusing to many why they couldn't hear it. Uh, they saw me very focused and they could see my integrity to be making things better. And I wanted to work hard towards standing up for what I believed in and what I was told to do. And so I did take some personal time to understand and trust the information because, of course, naturally as a human, I was very confused and very startled with the connection when it started. And it just continually got stronger and stronger as I grew. And part of it was unsettling because there was a point where I didn't believe in myself enough. And I still was doubting what I should be doing and what I was being told. And so I had to go through a process myself of strengthening and empowering myself to step into my own power and to move forward and do my small part for humanity. And I did it with so much joy. But of course, at the time, there was many roller coaster of emotions and challenges and the peer pressure that was put upon me and the challenge to be respected for the role and duty that I wanted to perform. And so, with great determination and with great passion and with great conviction and with great integrity and from the purest of all hearts, I continued on my mission. And I was very proud of what I accomplished because it wasn't about inciting and encouraging war and the destruction of man on man. It was about unity. It was about equal equality. It was about breaking those stereotypical agendas that was still so challenged back then. And, quite frankly, it didn't actually change for very much. And while that way past before my time as Joan, there was amazing female warriors who were just as fierce and competitive and had just as great compassion. However, moving forward, that was sort of lost in time. And so, once again, humanity was encouraged to see that both sex were equal, both sex have strengths, and both sex should be supporting each other when you have a mission from God, when you have something that moves you so strongly so fiercely that you forget sleep, you forget hunger, you forget all of your worldly experiences because you're just so driven for your cause. And so that was it. I focused so intently on my cause that I did have an unbalanced environment, but I didn't want it any other way. I had many opportunities to have more of a balance, and I just was too focused and too driven to consider taking anything else on board. And so part of my purpose was to break down the stereotypical gender roles, to kind of shake things up and to show that women can be leaders. Women can be very strategic and logical and planning and have the great art of war. And so this hadn't really been so common. And so there was a lot of breaking some boundaries and some mindsets that needed to be broken. And it was hard to get to the position where I was, but anything that's hard work is always worthwhile. And so while the females that have gone beyond me and after me, there are still many fierce, amazing, strong women leaders in every industry, and that has been fantastic because the um, the differences between men and women is not much, is not as much as one would consider. And while you're allowed to love the gender roles that you were born into, you are also able to love the other non gendered roles. For example, you're free to do whatever you want, and no peer pressure or no social judgment should ever deter you from being the person you want to be. And so that was part of my role, was to be able to be a fierce leader who could lead an army of very wild and unruly men, but also very professional in their passion and drive. And they were career men with what they were doing. And it wasn't until I had to show myself, show my diligence, and really work good and be acknowledged for working good in my field to get to the placement. It wasn't just handed to me. I had to work so much more harder than any other man on the battlefield to be able um, to prove myself. And of course, it was easier to go undercover most of the time, to not be able to really know and judge. I wanted to be seen as an equal on and off the battlefield, and I succeeded. And of course, my life was never meant to last long, because I had so much other things to do. It was merely a fast, impactful life that would ring through forever. And my heart is with every female and male who wants to seize the day, seize their passions and their drives, stand up to the truths, stand up to what they know, what their calling is. And if God is talking to you, or any other senses that are driving you and leading you into a path to encouragement, to help humanity, to better yourself, to focus less on the materialistic, to focus less on your own needs, and be able to see things with a bigger picture, with purpose, and enjoying the lessons along the way, and giving more than taking. This is something that I am very passionate about, and I'm almost a patron of that. And so, this is why I am in the hearts of many. And when you are about to embark on a new journey where you need more strength and courage and support, this is when I have normally come into your lives, because I know how much support and encouragement from the divine side, how special that is. And so I want to be able to give back. I want to be able to be that voice, that driving force that says you can do this, nothing is stopping you. You are so much more powerful, you are so much more courageous when you own your truths and you stand up for yourself, not just for you, but for your community, for your country, for humanity. And you give yourself no limitations. You don't indulge in blocks of any form, and you just go for it, because it is too serious, your lives, when you're focusing on so much of the surrounding information that could get you down. And you're supposed to live fast and hard. And I know that may sound like a strange statement, but if you're living slow and cautious, you may miss the excitement. You may miss all the joys and the passion and everything that can come with it. And so, again, I confessed and said I didn't have the most balanced of lives, but I was happy with that. I did exactly what I wanted to do, and I tried to not offend as many people as I could while still being very focused on my mission. Um, of course, having to fight in battle is not pretty. And you would not wish the scenes that I saw on anyone because it should never get to this point. But when you're pushed beyond, when there is no other way, this is what must do to show your strength. And while I am certainly not encouraging anyone to battle physically, you are now allowed to battle with your minds, share your words. Your words are always much more powerful than the sword and much more cleaner, unless there's swears. But that's that is trying to make a light-hearted conversation about how powerful your tools that you already have are. You can master your heart, you can master your intentions, and you can master your voice. And your heart, intentions, and voice is so powerful. It is stronger and sharper than any sword. And I really want to leave that with you today because I want to empower you like I've always wanted to empower humanity. And this is one of my biggest joys, as I said. I have had many other lifetimes, but I am so proud of the one of Joan because it had so much meaning. And I've lived very various different lives for those lessons and experiences. And I did have a life where I was a mother with children, and I did have a life where I was a married man. And I had the range of ones that I wanted to experience. So I wasn't always I wasn't always in the roles of the battler warrior that I was, but it was more communication and being able to connect and try and talk to the other parties before the actual battle, to be able to make peace treaties and agreements as much as possible every step of the way. And of course, actually being in battle was our very, very, very last option. And that was when just there was no possible way forward. And so it was very challenging, but it was very exhilarating at the same time because both parties always wanted the best for their people. And so we could understand that. So there's always wriggle room and there is always good negotiations when everyone's truly able to consider and respect each other. But when there is one agenda that's more stronger than the other, that doesn't care for the other beings' welfare, it can be very challenging. And so there was much to talk about, but I'm assuming not all of you are as passionate about the ins and outs of the art of war. And it is very beautiful because we want peace. We don't want to shed blood. Ultimately, we want to be able to be so clever and navigate that we can only provide peace as a solution. And that is so much better than any other option. Um, so I just wanted to say to you all that I am here always when you need encouragement and support because I know how special it is to have connections with the divine. And don't worry, you're not crazy. I went through that myself where I was thinking, this feels like a lot of pressure. Why me? I can't be special. But the truth is, we're all special. You're all very special. And you have great capabilities, and your missions here can be tremendous when you get out of the rut of your daily lives and start living for now, start living with a purpose, find your song of strength, find your passion, and live life with full integrity, not holding back on anything because we're always here for you on this side. And we always want to honor and help you any way you want to move forward. And if it's the best for you, You've got the free will, and you've got all of us here on the other side rooting for you and wanting to support you. And so we say this with so much love.